Hello everyone, welcome to another podcast. Ben Lister here again. Time for episode 34 of the Chatbox podcast with Adam Kidsmith, and here it is, my last upload of the day. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another Chatterbox podcast. It's episode 34 and the last in the current series of the Ben Lister podcast radio the Chatterbox podcast here online. So how are you doing today? Right, let's crack on. As you know, each week I have a guest to talk about their career or their job. So let's crack on with this week's guest. It's broadcaster Adam Smith. Hello Adam, welcome along.
Thank you for having me, Ben. It's lovely to be here. I'm the last in the series, eh? I hope you saved the best till last, or is it just coincidence?
It's just who I can get my hands on at the time, really.
Fair enough. Okay. How are you? You well?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good, good. So I'm excited. I believe you've got lots of questions for me.
Yep, 5.
Brilliant. Bring them on.
Yeah. Anyway, where did you start your broadcast career?
My broadcasting career started way back when in 2000. Radio. I did hospital radio in Calderdale, which is still going. Brilliant station. It was great to be involved. Kind of taught me the ways of radio and obviously being able to provide a service. So I did that alongside being involved in a RSL at the time, which was Phoenix FM. And then that went on to get a license in Calderdale in Halifax. And through that, I met some great people. There's so many lovely people and friendly people and just awesome people in radio that you get to meet. And they're the ones that kind of advise you and guide you to where your career should go next. And then after that, I was very lucky to get the evening show on the Pulse of West Yorkshire, now known as Pulse One, which was brilliant. Took over from Jackie Blay, who I worked with at Phoenix. And it was just a phenomenal experience. My first delve into community radio and then into commercial radio. It was just a brilliant time to be in radio. And that's kind of where it all took off from there, really. But I always give advice and people go, how did you start in radio? Hospital radio, it's the most rewarding thing to do whilst training yourself for radio and learning from people that are there to give their time and educate and volunteer to train you to be a fantastic broadcaster. Hospital radio was the start for me.
Yeah, brilliant start to your career. Question 2: who were your inspirations in broadcasting growing up?
Do you know what I thought you would ask me this, and 2 of them you've interviewed. Hursty, of course, Stephanie Hurst. I remember listening to Steph back in Hursty's Daily Dose and Galaxy way back when. And it was just a brilliant broadcast show. And the fact that Hursty was so relatable, and it was just a pleasure to listen to, as well as having great music. When you were a teenager, obviously the songs that Galaxy were playing were the bee's knees. And so Hursty definitely won, which I've had the pleasure to meet many times and become friends with and go on many drunken nights out with. And the other one, which was I think my first kind of, I wouldn't say radio crush, but radio idol, was Dr. Fox. Obviously, Dr. Fox was the Pepsi chart show. He was everywhere. And then he went on to be a judge on TV as well. And obviously my background with TV and radio, I thought obviously TV, radio, that's the kind of guy that I want to be. Neil Fox, both absolute legends, Dr. Fox and Hursty.
Have you ever met Dr. Fox?
I haven't. I don't think I have. I might have done on one of these drunken nights out, but no, I don't think I have. I did get a bit starstruck once when I met Tony Blackburn and Pat Sharp, because I was like, I've seen you guys on telly, big fans. But no, definitely no, not Dr. Fox. Though I'd like to. I could have some great anorak conversations about the Pepsi chart and stuff with Dr. Fox.
I saw a video this morning. He was reminiscing about the year of 2001, 20 years ago, when he was doing show on Capital. I think he was covering for Tarrant on the breakfast show, and he was reminiscing about a Mariah Carey song.
He's just a legend. If there's anybody that you want to sit down with over a beer and have a chat and just ask questions about, what was Mariah Carey like? What was Madonna like? What was Michael Jackson like? People like that. He's the person to ask. He has been, the Pepsi chart was at its heyday. It was the biggest listened to chart show, and it was a phenomenal thing. Had its own TV show on Channel 5 as well, which I remember watching. And he was just. I think when you talk about idols and people, you can always look up to people on telly, like nowadays, Ann and Det, phenomenal, Holly Willoughby, Philip Schofield, all the people that have gone to radio, and legends in radio, of course, like Tony Blackburn and Pat Sharp. But it's always, I think, relatability on radio. And the good thing about both Hursty and Neil is that you could have a conversation with them, and it wouldn't be that they are radio presenters. It's just that your mate that you're just chatting to over a beer or over a coffee. And I think that's what, for me, just made me want to get into radio, because you could be somebody's best friend on the radio and make impacts and entertain at the same time and just be yourself.
So when you were growing up, did you ever listen to the rival to Galaxy back in the day? It was called Real, I think.
I did listen to Real, and I was very fortunate to then work with a gentleman called Steve Buck, who was in Real for the launch, and Steve Boardman at various other radio stations, which I've stayed in touch with and been friends with. And I liked Real. Obviously, it's Heart now. I loved Real. I remember, I know this is really geeky and anoraki, and I know if there's any anoraks listening. I used to listen to their test transmissions when it was just music. I loved it. I was a proper radio geek, still am, to be fair. And Real was a good station. I loved Real, and obviously Galaxy. And I always listen to Rivals. You've got to see what's out there, haven't you?
Were you I've got to ask you this question, because I had a guy who you might know, I think, Lee Barber.
Who?
A guy called Lee Barber. He used to work on a few radio stations.
I probably would know him if I saw him. There's so many people in radio and so many different names.
He was part of the Real Academy.
I probably would have met him. Yeah, and
he preferred Real too. He preferred Dixie and Gail's breakfast show to Hursty's.
Oh, everyone has different tastes. I think, Dixie's phenomenal as a presenter. I listen to him when I'm in the car or doing this, sometimes coming back from the school run.
Have you ever met him?
I have. I think I met him in an award ceremony once. Again, I think we were both very drunk, which says a lot. But no, I think Dixie's a brilliant broadcaster, and he's so funny. He just says it how it is. And I think that's what I was referring to earlier. You just got to be yourself. And it's very difficult to do that in radio right now, all the political correctness. But he's still so funny. And he's very close to the edge, but he's good. He's very good. And it's just a pleasure to listen to a lot of radio stations nowadays. And there's still pure talent out there, which is phenomenal.
I used to watch on the YouTube Chris Miles, who's friends with Hursty as well.
Yeah. Chris Miles is funny. I do like listening. I don't listen to him because I'm not into that kind of music that he plays, which again backs to personal preference of what people listen to. But I do watch his videos when he puts them on YouTube. The pranks and stuff that he does, and I remember when the pubs came back open, he did a broadcast from a pub, and he's always getting people into trouble. And the one when he kept tapping into Vernon Kay's show and changing his microphone to different speeds and pitches. That was hilarious. He's a radio genius. Absolutely brilliant.
I like the ones where he goes hijacking other radio stations in the Global building.
Yes, I remember he did something where he was telling and got all the listeners to get in touch with, I think it was Vernon Kay at the time, or whoever, saying that everyone who was listening to Radio X was actually getting BBC Radio Stoke. And it was so funny. Because obviously BBC Radio Stoke had no idea of this. But a friend of mine, Perry Spiller, was on the air at the time. And he said it was just an amazing experience to kind of be on Chris Moyle's show in a form, and people still to this day going, I remember that time when Vernon Kay had to talk about you. And Yeah, no, Chris Moyle has the brilliant stuff. And I do like that now that in radio, because back in the day when I was in commercial radio, I think it was the days of MySpace and Bebo. I don't think Facebook had properly taken off, nor Twitter, nor Instagram. And you couldn't really do online stuff as much. So it was all the radio or out and doing your road shows. That was the only way that you could interact with your listeners and the public. And now that you're able to do that, I just think it's phenomenal. It's just so good. There's a video going around at the moment that's been viral of Ed Sheeran surprising a fan in the Heart studio, a little boy who's on his guitar. And it's just great. You could do that on radio, but I don't think it had the same impact it would do if you saw it in video. So yeah, I think that the fact that people are able to do that now, especially Chris, and he's hilarious, is brilliant. I think it expands radio.
And also as well, I was watching your classic video with Hairsty and Jonathan Gold.
He sent me these. He sent me the links things months ago. And I think it's always embarrassing when you look back at yourself many, many years ago. I was like younger then. And yeah.
I remember one line you said you used to be on Nickelodeon.
I did. Yeah, many, many moons ago. That's how my career started. I loved TV. Radio, I think, was more interactive than telly. But
no disrespect to me, you sounded a bit bored on that show.
No comment. I haven't seen the video for a while. But I assume if Jono and Hairsty were both in the studio, it wouldn't be a boring experience.
No, it was probably because they're both good people. It's Jonathan Gold I was speaking to a couple of weeks ago. Similar thing to you.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think that day of, the early noughties when everyone in radio got along, there wasn't much rivalry. My competitor at the time when I was on the evening show at Pulse was Dave Kelly. Great guy.
Was Pulse and Galaxy owned by the same people at the same time?
No. Galaxy at that time, I believe, wasn't even owned by Global. It was owned by, I want to say Chrysalis, but I might be wrong. And we were owned, but we got bought out. We were owned by the Wireless Group, and then we were bought out by UTV, which was interesting. Didn't make much of a change, but so we were different companies, and we were rivals. We were battling for the same people, but we just, outside of being on the air, everyone got along in those days. There wasn't much.
And you had the same chat show.
We did, yeah. We had the chat show. I remember, in fact, it was thanks to Jono and Hairsty at the time, where I used to get my own little individual, unique input into the chart show updates. We used to do it on Monday and Wednesday, and I used to go, over to Hairsty with the latest chart. And what you'd usually get would just be the chart show promo. But I got some things that, thanks, Adam. Here's today's chart, and it was, just little bits like that. Thanks to people that were willing to go the extra mile in radio, like Jono and like Hairsty at the time, and it was good time to be in radio.
As I say, when I interviewed her, because I only really listened to her. Really, I'd been watching the archive stuff, and the person before Hairsty was a guy called Anthony Collins, I believe his name is.
Could be. I don't remember that.
Because it was on one of Jonathan Gold's videos.
Jonathan's got everything. Anorak, jingle, video, every station, you name it, he's got it. I would say him and Hairsty are some of the biggest radio anoraks I've ever had the joy to meet. If you've ever got a question about radio, who owned it, who did what slot for how long, they'll know it. They are true radio buffs, anoraks, legends.
Have you ever been inside the Galaxy studio?
Yes, I've been inside the Galaxy studio a few times for various reasons, and it was a lovely building. It was great.
It's still
obviously,
at the same building.
Is it still at Joseph Well? Yeah, Jacob
but
Well.
It's got Heart inside as well, because it's got Dixie and Emma now.
So there's Dixie and Emma in one studio, and Adam and Georgia in the other. I can imagine that's a great place to be in. I bet it's mental. Because when you went to Galaxy Studio, Galaxy was from being Kiss, it was so fresh paint, brand new. It always looked amazing as a setup, and the fact that you could stand up and do your show, and it was a higher desk and everything. And as a radio geek, those things were brilliant. But I was at the Pulse. Now, don't disrespect it. It was a brilliant broadcast station.
Was it at the place in Bradford where Pulse
we were in Pennine House. We were in Pennine House, which was an old building, and we were in the basement. And there were brown walls. The desk had been there since day one. It worked. Great credit to the engineers. It was phenomenal. But we were in the basement, dark walls, double windows. I remember looking to the left of Studio One, and you have your double pane of glass, and in there was a spider that had been contained for 60 years, maybe. It's been there since, probably when they first started. And it was just little things like that. I mean, it made it iconic, historic as a building, which so many great names have broadcast from. But we were literally in a basement. It wasn't as flashy as Galaxy.
Paul Griffer worked for the Pulse.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the new Pulse studios yet in Bradford. I don't even know if they're there anymore. I know that they might.
No, they're not. I think they've moved to Kirkstall Road, the old Radio Air.
Radio Air one, yeah, next to ITV. But I did remember having a bit of an anorak session with Chris Johnson, who did Breakfast on Pulse 2. And he sent through, I think it was on social media, loads of pictures of the new studio and of the old one as they were dismantling it. And it was very emotional to see the old studio being dismantled, considering I've spent so many hours in there doing evening show and breakfast on a Saturday and other shows as well. And then just to see the new flashy one, it was good. But everything's got to move on.
One of my friends used to present on Radio Air. Magic Glenn Pinder,
radio legend.
Yep, he's another one as well.
Yeah, I used to listen to Glenn. Obviously when I was growing up, listening to radio, teenager, doing my homework, that was the thing you put on the radio. You did shout outs to your mates. So I listened to. I used to listen to Lucy. Sorry,
on Radio Air, you had sometimes JK and Joel.
You did, but when you go way back to when I used to listen, it was Matt Wilkins, Wilco, who did the evening show there, and he was great guy, lovely man. He was a very, very talented broadcaster as well. I think he still does the occasional cover on Pulse. But yeah, Radio Air was a good station. They all came from Leeds, and then after him came Glenn. So if I was ever still up at 10 o'clock, being told off by my mum and dad for not going to bed, it was always Glenn that came on after, and he was great to listen to. It was called the Mean Man of Meanwood, I believe he used to be introduced as. Going back now, don't even know if I got that right. I'm getting old, Ben.
Yeah, and one of my because there's a lot of great. Yeah, I was just reading a lot over the years, and over here we had Viking.
Yeah, Viking was great. Alex Duffy's there at breakfast at the moment.
He's not he's presenting from inside the Radio Air setup as well.
Is he? Oh,
in the Radio Air building
now, hasn't it? It's so confusing.
And I don't know Alex Duffy, but my Dan Morfitt does. Colleagues who worked at Radio Air for a bit.
So this is the thing now, that used to be, breakfast onto mid-morning, onto drive time, onto evening, onto late night. And there was always a handover, you always got to speak to them. And these became the people that you saw every day. I used to be before, Perry Spiller used to be before me on drive. And then after me used to be Steve Buck, and you've got the handover. And these are people that you see every day that you're in the studio. And it was always good to do a double header with and have a chat with them, especially with the newsreaders as well. You used to have some good laughs with them. And you can't really do that anymore.
Have you ever been inside the Radio Air building?
Yes, a long time ago. I got a tour there a long time ago, and I got ITV at the same time. So I was kind of on Kirkstall Road, and I got to see them both. So it was really, really good. Again, great studios.
I had a BBC Look North legend from that region, Harry Gratian, recently.
Oh, he is a legend. Hasn't he just recently become a dad as well?
Yeah.
At his age, that's phenomenal. What a guy. Yeah, I remember watching him and Krista.
Question 3. What is your favourite part about the job?
Ooh, right. My favourite part of the job. Do I give a diplomatic answer or do I give a real answer? No, honestly, I think what I love most about my job is just being able to entertain. And when you just want to be that person to entertain people, doing it on the radio or telly or in a nightclub or on YouTube or Zoom, doing your podcast like you do. I think the passion is to just entertain. And that's always been what I've wanted to do, whether it be either of those platforms. And that was it. And just to be able to entertain people. And one thing that I loved about radio is that you'd entertain and you'd have people listen to you, and then you'd go out, or you'd be in a supermarket, or you'd be at a roadshow, and people come up to go, oh, I loved it when you did that. It was so funny, and to know that you entertained them in a way that you'd just be yourself, like I said earlier. You could do, I used to do the Pulse party on a Saturday night, which was just 4 hours of party tunes. And then I used to go to a club after and DJ in a club for the Pulse. And I could go there and people would say, oh, I listened to your show, I was getting ready, it was great. I was dancing around with my hairbrush, drinking Lambrini or whatever. And you just thought, I'm doing something, I'm entertaining people. And that's what always was my favorite thing about radio.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Question 4, how has COVID affected your life and line of work?
Well, not being able to. Been doing, obviously, prior to the pandemic, DJing in nightclubs and doing theatre shows and bantos and stuff like that. You can't do them because you're not allowed. So come what was March 2020, I haven't stepped foot on a stage. I haven't been behind decks in a nightclub. I've still been doing my show on Beverly FM Friday nights, mate. And I've been doing a lot of stuff online, interviewing people. I interviewed Britain's Got Talent legend John Courtney the other week, Christopher Biggins, Darren Day, all about musicals and stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot of stuff online, but no, I haven't really been able to go and be.
And also, you should try
anywhere.
and get Also, you should try and get an interview with a lady who's Vicky Michelle, I think her name is.
She was in the Lower Low.
Yeah, and now she's working for Phoenix 96 Radio, I think.
Is that the Birmingham one?
I think.
Or the Cambridge one? Yeah. I've met Vicky, actually. Vicky is one of the people who attends the Royal Variety Show every year. And there used to be her, Jimmy Tarbuck, Tommy Cannon, Bobby Ball, rest his soul. And we all kind of used to see them and say hello to them when we're there. And I see Vicky pretty much. I'll probably see her this year as well in November.
Brilliant. Question 5, last question on the list. What advice would you give to young aspiring broadcasters who are starting out?
Good question. I would revert back to my previous point. Just be yourself. You won't believe how many people go into radio and try to be something they're not, and they end up obviously not being able to progress. But just be yourself, because I think now you just need to be natural, because anybody can listen to music anyway. You can Spotify, you can Apple Music it, you can YouTube Music it, you can, stream on many different platforms. So the bit that attracts people to radio now is the talent. And I think being relatable and being able to just be yourself, just be, like yourself, Ben, just ask questions, be yourself, and just be talented and be entertaining. And that's what people want to listen to nowadays. So be yourself. And to get a start in radio, I'd say don't be afraid to start from the bottom. So whether that's doing community radio, which people frown upon it, but it's still a great, great service that they provide, an entertaining one and a community one as well. But again, hospital radio, now more than ever, people need hospital radio because, they're in hospital, they might not be feeling great, they might be suffering from something, and they need that bit of entertainment. And anybody who's noticed over the last year of this pandemic, how key workers in the NHS and people in that industry, in that setting, just need a bit of a perk, need to be, lifted up. And hospital radio is a great way of doing that. I don't know if you can interact with the patients right now. I doubt you would be able to. But back in the days when I did it, back in 21 years ago, you got to meet people, and there were interesting stories, phenomenal people to meet, and really, really give you a view on life. And I think hospital radio, community radio is a great stepping stone to get started in radio, get to meet some great people like yourself, Ben, and like Hursty and obviously Fox and other people that you've been speaking to. You just get a network and you get to speak to people, and they tell you stories, they educate you, they train you, they help you develop your skill. Be yourself and start from hospital radio, because they need people, and community radio as well.
Brilliant. That's it for today. Thank you for joining us, Adam.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure to be chatting to you, Ben. I wish you the best of luck in the rest of your podcast, mate. I've heard some of them. They've been really, really good. And just thank you for asking me. It's been great to chat to you, pal.
Thank you. Which ones have you heard?
So I listened to Hursty's. They clearly did theirs from their studio, didn't them and Jono, because their audio quality was phenomenal. And I was
did
like,
theirs from home, I think.
Yeah, in studio, Casa Hursty. And I listened to that one, and I listened to bits of Jono's, and who was the other one? Milo and Rosie. I listened to a bit of that. Very difficult finding time to listen. I've got a 1-year-old, so she keeps me very, very busy. So having to listen to the bits of the podcast in the car, in between listening to Mickey Mouse Clubhouse going on the TV in the back. But no, brilliant stuff, mate. Brilliant stuff. And I like the way that because sometimes you could do interviews and they just ask you a question and they never might come back with anything. When you come back with, have you, experience and knowing radio, anyone can ask questions. But when you know radio and you're a bit of a geek like we are in radio, it's good to kind of have that as well. So no,
I also know a friend of mine who works up in Chesterfield, Sean Goldsmith.
Right, I met Sean. I did some cover at Peak. Very, very nice man. Very, very nice. And
I also even recently had his former co-presenter from Breakfast.
Who's
Becky
that one?
Measures.
Oh, I don't remember her. There's so many people in radio.
She now works for Radio Sheffield.
Oh, brilliant. Everyone moves around, don't they, in radio? Everyone's always got
and the guy called Chris Marsden as well.
Yeah, Chris. He used to be when I worked at Pennine and Home in Huddersfield for UKRD. He was the station voice, and he was brilliant guy. And he's just recently had a station, West Yorkshire Radio. Unfortunately, didn't work that well, but unfortunately, didn't get the funding.
I had one of his former presenters who worked on that station on a podcast recently, Raymond Rose.
Raymond Rose. Did he He did the night one, didn't he? The night show.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that, Ben. There's a lot of nice people in radio. A lot of nice people.
Yeah. Do join me, please. Now, thank you for joining me on the Chatterbox podcast. Now, please give it up for Adam Smith. Do join me again soon. Thank you very much for listening and watching. And that's a wrap.
That was my last interview of the day with Adam Kidd Smith. Hope you enjoyed it. More uploads may be coming tomorrow. So stick around for them and talk to you soon. Be hello, and that's a wrap. Don't forget to like, subscribe and all that, and that's a wrap.